Welcome back to the Faculty Factory podcast. On today's episode, we're talking with Dan Shapiro from Penn State University. Dan, how goes it?
Great.
So why don't you start off with telling everybody how you got into faculty affairs and faculty development?
You know, I started as a professor at the University of Arizona as an assistant professor with, a lot of clinical responsibilities and did some writing, et cetera, and ultimately was recruited to be chair of the humanities department in the College of Medicine at Penn State. And I did that job for about 7 years and then got pulled into doing more administrative work for the dean's office, and then was ultimately blessed sort of as the vice dean for faculty administrative affairs in 2015. So I do things like I recruit chairs, I evaluate the chairs, I play vice principal sometimes. There is an office of faculty development that reports up to me, and diversity and inclusion associate dean also. Her office reports up to mine, and then faculty affairs, kind of the promotion and tenure process also. And then I do a lot of as needed jobs as well.
Can you give us a sense of how big your office is? How many people are doing what kinds of jobs?
Sure. The diversity and inclusion office, I think, has 4 people total. The faculty development office has 3. What we call faculty affairs, which is promotion and tenure, has another. Right now it has 4 because we're transitioning a baton. My office has 4 total, and that includes parts of an analyst. There's a psychologist who does a lot of analytics for us. There's a financial guy who does a lot of the business side of what's happening in some of the departments. And then an administrative assistant and myself.
Okay.
That's really the whole show.
Yeah, good. Now, was that office in place when you came on board and you assumed your position, or did you build this up?
So there was a vice dean when I first became a chair who actually recruited me, Kevin Grigsby.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Who left after I'd only been around for about a year. I think maybe it was something I said, and then that office didn't exist for many years. The dean, whom Kevin had originally been working with when I arrived, left, and when this new dean took over, as a product of a conversation between the two of us, we kind of, I think, both thought that there were a bunch of jobs that needed to be the office was kind of, reinvigorated.
Yeah. Did you recruit your folks internally, externally, or a combination of both in all these diversity, inclusion, the faculty affairs, the faculty development, your office? How'd they come about?
Both. The faculty development has been internal. Diversity and inclusion was external. We stole her from Cornell. That's Lynette Chappell-Williams, and she's just fantastic. We just turned over the Office of Faculty Development. Barb Ostroff was in that spot, and she just became a chair of pediatrics in Albany. So we recruited internally and had some really stellar candidates, and Jennifer McCall Hosenfeld has taken that role and is just running with it gangbusters. Faculty Affairs is about to turn over, and we recruited that internally as well.
Wow, good. So what kinds of things are you doing that's maybe unique or different, or something that you're excited about that you kind of on the top most of your mind that you'd like to tell us about?
I'd say a couple things. We've had some innovations in recruiting chairs in that we have them do simulations, which is an unusual part of an interview process.
Oh, I remember you talking about that. Yeah, tell us about that. That is really creative.
Well, it's pretty common for chair recruits and chair candidates to have had illustrious, research or clinical management experience, illustrious careers or clinical management. But the real jobs they have to do every day require a level of emotional intelligence that we don't always capture if all we do is celebrate a vita.
Yes.
So we have our chair candidates do a brief interaction with a simulated disgruntled faculty member. And the faculty member isn't, a once-in-a-lifetime upset. They're generally just mildly disturbed about something. And usually there's a little bit of an accountability issue somewhere in there, too. And we give the scenarios to the candidates a couple weeks in advance. And then when they're here in front of the committee as part of their interview, they do this kind of brief simulated interaction. And it's been discerning.
You have an actor?
We have different people play the role of actor. I did the first few, but then the role of disgruntled faculty member has been played by over 5 different people, depending on the search. It's really not hard because the people on these committees are generally faculty themselves and have a pretty good idea. And we just coach them. It's not an over the top once in a lifetime thing. Just be mildly irritated.
When you say brief, what's the length of time on average? And then do you debrief the whole interaction?
Yeah, that's a good question. The whole thing takes about 10 minutes, the interaction part. And then afterwards we ask them what they thought about it, if there's anything they would do differently, which is a nice opportunity to see if they're reflective, particularly if they did something odd for them to go. Like one guy said, I really like this. He said, I made a joke and it was a little too early for him and I shouldn't have done that. And I thought, here's someone who's reflective. That's what we need.
Insight, yeah.
And, being one of the people who plays the role of vice principal in the organization, part of this is just self-preservation on my part. When I have chairs who are engaged and can manage tense situations with faculty and advocate for faculty, but also hold them accountable and, have the emotional intelligence to give a nuanced message, then my life is easier. If they can't do that, if they botch even simple interactions, then I'm one of the people who has to clean up after them. And
have you developed like a rubric that the committee uses after that candidate leaves, where you kind of go through a number of competencies?
We have not done that, and the rubric is a great idea. What we've done instead is just ask the committee to vote on whether they think it was a pass or not, use their judgment. And we've had very few times when there's been much disagreement in the committee about and it's different committees about what they saw. The vast majority of the time, people agree, and they're not hard to pass, I think.
Yeah. Now that brings me to faculty development. Have you thought about, or do you already build in these kinds of emotional intelligence training sessions where you're helping people develop this skill and this ability and be able to be reflective and thinking about interactions with others? We have a few venues. We have a kind of emerging clinical leader program that that meets once a month, and there's usually a topic, and it rotates, and people have to bring their own challenges. So, like they might say, I've got a faculty member who's a little bit of a bully working in the clinic, and I don't know how to handle him. And then you brainstorm things you've tried, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think it's very easy to teach emotional intelligence, honestly. And by the time you're a chair, if you don't have it, it's too late for me. Good point.
This is too much at stake, and I wish I could say, I think this is absolutely doable, but I find the job's hard enough for people with exquisite emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
I think being a chair is enormously difficult to do well.
I'm curious how you...
So that's...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that's one. The other is I think we've done some innovative work in Burnout.
Tell us more.
I've got a little team that's just publishing our model in the American Journal of Medicine, which is a little bit more robust, I think, than your typical burnout evaluation, which is like, kind of binary. Are you burned out? Are you not burned out? Mm-hmm. This is looking across levels. So starting at the basics, are you eating when you're at work? Are you dehydrated? Are you suicidal? Kind of the fundamentals first. Then assessing, do you feel physically safe? Do you feel like your job is safe? Moving up from there, do you feel you have a basic level of respect? Do you feel respected by the machines you interact with? Does the parking gate open when you swipe your card? Oh, wow. Do the people around you respect you? Do you feel like you work in a civil environment? Then up from there, do you feel appreciated? Do you feel like the system notices when you go out of your way to do, excellent work? And then at the top, do you have the resources and autonomy to actually heal patients? Are you doing the work that's meaningful to you? Are we making it possible for you to do that? So we're trying to assess across these different levels and then intervene to, improve life as we need to. So
that's amazing. That's like a Maslow hierarchy of needs kind of thing.
Exactly.
I'm amazed that you took advantage of these things that we take for granted. I love that. Does the arm go up in the parking garage? With 90% of the time at Hopkins, it doesn't. And you see people starting their day off in the morning raging that they can't even get in the building.
Right. So I've started joking that I can beat mindfulness meditation with a glass of water. If everyone is dehydrated, and then I can do a lot more for them in a glass of water than I can with, even if they had 45 minutes to meditate.
Isn't that something? Because it's run. It's this cult of busy, and it's some kind of badge of honor to say, well, I haven't eaten in a month, and I haven't had a bowel movement in 6 weeks, and I haven't gone, I haven't urinated in forever. Yeah. This is not something to be proud of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're not exactly modeling self-healing for the population we're trying to treat.
Now, how did you come up with this comprehensive holistic approach, like backing this train up to the very basic essential? Did you have a whole committee that came up with this way of thinking, or did you conceive of this in your team? How did this happen?
I was doing a burnout evaluation for Brown Lifespan, the 4 hospitals out there, and Kathy Duquette is this brilliant. She manages all of the nursing. She's the chief nursing officer for the whole system. And she was the one that kind of looked at everything we were assessing and said, this is Maslow. And then we, as a team, adapted the hierarchy to think about kind of physician and health professional wellness.
Yeah.
But it's made it helps organize the response. Like, start with the basics.
Yeah.
Don't start with slapping mindfulness meditation in there. In fact, I had a quote in one of the assessments I did that was something like, I don't know who put up the meditate at lunch flyer in the men's room, but if I find them, I'm going to choke them out.
Wait a minute.
That was written by a physician who was just so frustrated with you won't change my life at all. But you'll tell me like it's my fault I'm not being mindful enough instead of. And then I meditate sometimes. I have nothing against mindfulness. I just think it's a thin way to fix systems problems.
Well, that so reminds me of, we have a great talent management organization development unit at Hopkins, and they have these wonderful programs on anything from communication to negotiating and et cetera, et cetera. And the one they offer is time management. And I had a faculty member email me and said, this is beyond the pale. This is gone. This is not even disrespectful. It's completely ignorant. You're offering us a time management course that goes from 8 a.m. to noon, 4 hours to do time management.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's insulting to our faculty members. I can only imagine them going, are you kidding me? Seriously? Time management in 4 hours? Can't we make that simpler, people? So that, you're so right. I love how let's stop a minute here. Let's focus on the basic essentials. I love a glass of water, for crying out loud. Inhale and then maybe exhale. Wonderful.
And we have to fix the stuff that doesn't work, like the parking gates. Before we go on to more advanced stuff, let's help people just feel a fundamental basic level of respect.
Yeah. Love it. What's going on around your leadership courses? Talk a little bit about what kind of stuff's happening in your faculty development.
So a number of years ago, Barb Ostrov and even before her, Anna Yang, cultivated relationships with our business school. And they've created a really nice sequence that includes some time away from work to do a leadership training that's been really beautifully reviewed, and people are very enthusiastic about it. And it continues to evolve, and they've taken a real learning culture approach to it, which is let's keep making it better and better and better. And so that's been great. We also, as try to take advantage of what's available at the AAMC, for chairs and others, and of course the GFA, which I'm a huge fan of. So, we
this leadership training through the business school, you said, is a sequence. Is it like a cohort program where they're starting at a junior level and progressing through the academic continuum for mid-career, late career? Because at Hopkins we're recently saying, gosh, we're so good for junior faculty. We recently started something for senior faculty and late career retiring faculty, but we've got virtually nothing for those mid-career who have been associate professor for a while and maybe newly promoted professors. We got nothing going on there.
We have a nice, like you say, a nice junior faculty development program that was started by Dr. Thorndike, actually, when she was at Penn State. Luann started this with colleagues, and that has continued to flourish. And then we have this other one, this cohort through the business school, that people honestly all across the leadership continuum take. So it isn't really geared just to one segment, but we have the same, and we have, we've been doing this very small cadre of emerging clinical leaders, which tends to be either division chiefs or medical directors who are running a clinic, or who aspire to run a clinic. But we don't have anything for more advanced folks at all.
Yeah, interesting. We too are trying to think about what that might look like, and it's people a little bit more mature, maybe retraining, thinking about mentorship or new and different ways to retool. So we're also kind of challenged with what that might look like and how we might meet those needs. I think it's a really underdeveloped area.
We have been doing coaching. We have used both. We had an RFA and solicited names from all across the country, from our colleagues, yours and mine, from all over, and have a nice cadre of coaches who've done a nice job. And every time we hire a new chair or even the president of our hospital, we get them, with chairs, we get them some internal coaches who are other chairs, but also hire an executive coach for them for the first year. And sometimes that's helpful, I think, and sometimes I get mixed results back, I think. And I personally, I think the jury is still out on how effective coaching is. I really don't know what the secret sauce is, but sometimes folks are really enthusiastic about it and feel like they've gotten a lot of insights and it's really helped them in difficult situations. And other times I get back and sort of, we've kind of dwindled. We're not really talking that much anymore. I don't know.
So you're talking about external coaches brought into your institution to help the existing faculty. Have you or has anyone expressed interest internally about training, say, senior faculty to be coaches to junior faculty?
We have one ex-chair who's doing that, but we have not had, we haven't done anything like the Stanford program where they've really tried to cultivate a large group of internal senior faculty to be coaches.
Yeah. Do you have a retirement academy or anything like that for your senior or retired faculty in Hershey?
There is an emeritus faculty group who get together and have coffee, but we have not had success at really in an organized way taking advantage of their wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're trying to do that real hard at Hopkins too. There's a lot of interest in our near retirement and newly retired folks to continue teaching or help review grants and help writing manuscripts. And we're not really into the coaching, but there's been some interest from our new faculty, the junior folks who are hearing about more sponsorship and coaching, and they say, hey, do you guys have coaches? And, we certainly don't have that kind of a resource to provide coaches to all new faculty, but that's kind of starting to bubble up, and we're curious about that. Did you also, you mentioned your, this awesome burnout program. Do you have a chief wellness officer? Have you gone that direction yet?
As a result of the surveys we did, we discovered that we had higher depression rates than we'd like to see. And we successfully joined resources with our GME office and hired a psychologist who just started less than a month ago to really serve as sort of a safety net and coordinator for wellness. So we're not calling him a chief wellness officer, but he was doing some executive work for Johnson & Johnson for a while, and he's really just started to get to know the lay of the land.
Yeah.
But we're hoping for big things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you do the your own ingrown faculty satisfaction survey, or do you do the faculty forward for the AAMC faculty? We
grew our own. The burnout survey we built ourselves, and now we're doing it. We did it for Lifespan and Brown, and actually starting Monday we're going to do the same thing for Allegheny's 8 hospitals out in Pittsburgh. So we like this because it's. We think we've hit the sweet spot with how long the survey is, and at the end of it, faculty and other docs go, "They get me. They really get me." And we like that. So we think we've trimmed the noise. I know some people are real fans of the faculty forward survey. I wasn't quite as enthusiastic as other folks, so we grew our own.
Yeah. Yeah, we also have our own homegrown. We do it every 2 years, and we too had a little bit uptick in some dissatisfaction and burnout. So we got a 50% effort chief wellness officer internally. Just recently.
That's great.
Yeah. So what else is anything new you want to tell us or inspire some of our friends out there who are maybe just finding themselves fallen backwards into academic affairs or faculty development, and any words of wisdom for them?
It's really great, honorable work. I think it's a really fun way to complement other pieces of an academic career. And I am still constantly confused and stimulated by this work. So, I think it's absolutely worth throwing oneself into.
I love that. Constantly confused and proud of it. That's good. It keeps us interested and engaged.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're doing this podcast, and, keep up the great work.
Thank you, Dan. And this concludes another episode of the Faculty Factory podcast. Thanks, Vice Dean Dan Shapiro from Penn State. Thanks for tuning in to Faculty Factory Podcast. The mission of the Faculty Factory is to build and support a community of leaders in faculty development who share tools, resources, wisdom, and encouragement in service to our faculty members, schools, and institutions. We encourage you to go to facultyfactory.org to find out more, get in touch with me, ask me any questions. Maybe you want to be interviewed on the podcast. Thanks for tuning in to Faculty Factory Podcast. We'll see you next time. The Faculty Factory podcast and website is sponsored by the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine Office of Faculty. For more information, visit facultyfactory.org.